And we are back. This time with my man Dave Weston, the man himself. Absolute phenom on the mats, absolute gentleman off of him. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Been
Oh,
a long time fan. It's nice to finally get here.
absolute pleasure, man. Now, we've been chatting before the podcast,
Yeah,
and we've got to be mindful of what goes out and what doesn't. So keep your ears peeled because we're going to cross some lines. And if you get offended, all right.
we got all the bad stuff out of the way. We're good now. We're good.
We just scratch the surface, my man. We'll see what's what.
Oh, dear.
So, regards to training, what's been going on in the gym? What's been happening?
um, Same old, to be honest with you. Same old hard graft. The lads are good. We've got a real good environment in the gym at the minute. Like just savages getting that. We've got that reputation in the local area now where I think like I've heard of people talking about our gym at other gyms, and everybody's scared to come train with us, which is kind of what we wanted from the offset. So now we're starting to achieve that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, same old, just savage training.
It's beautiful, man. And like from the videos I've seen on YouTube and like in social media and stuff, it's got a nice feel to it though. Like, you say like
Yeah,
intimidating, scary, and all the rest of it, but like I quite like it.
yeah. It's not. It's. I don't think it's intimidating at all. I mean, we train hard. I think that's what people are scared of, like being tired, being pushed. The lads are great. Everybody have a crack. They'll look after you as well. Like a real good bunch of lads looking after each other. Everybody like team, trying to get better at the same time. But it's just the fast paced hard rounds. I think people are scared to get
Mm.
involved with, and it's all right. Like it's not for everybody. That's for sure. It's like it's not easy, man. It's really hard. And over the years, we've had people leave because, I respect it more than anything. We've had some people leave and they'll say something bad and leave, and it's probably because they didn't want the hard graft. They made up an excuse and go.
Mm.
We've had a few people leave recently. They've just said, "Look, it's too hard graft for me. I'm going to go to this gym and take it easier." And I respect that. Like that's an option. There's other gyms out there that will cater to that. Um, like we're not one of them. So if that's what you're looking for, like I respect that. Yeah, good for you. Go and do it in a way you can enjoy it. But yeah, that's not us. That's not us.
That's a nice thing though, and I feel like having that kind of acceptance of not take it or leave it, but just we put in this level. This is the way we like to do it. If it's not for you, that's okay. Not fuck off. You're not good enough. That
Yeah,
sort of thing. It's just an acceptance of this is the environment we want because this is how we feel is beneficial. We can train this way. We can develop this way, and just a mix of things really. And also when it comes to like competitions and things like that, it really translates well as we've seen and things like that yourself.
yeah, that's it. It's hard to build that mentality. Like I'm very competitive in the gym, and a lot of people say that's bad. Obviously, I always look after my training partners. Very rarely ever injure anybody. Um,
Rarely was the key word.
yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with rarely. I can't do any better than rarely. But I am competing with the lads. Like I don't let them beat me. Because like if you go soft and you play around a little bit too much, that you're starting to drill that into your mentality. Whereas the competition mentality should be, I'm going to beat them. So I'm very competitive with our boys. We go hard within reason, but like yeah, it's not for everyone, and I respect that. Some people want a hobby, and although we are hobbyists, some people want like an easy hobby, come and have a chat with the boys, do a little bit of soft rounds, go home. And I get it. I'm in there doing these rounds. It's hard, man. It's hard. And if you say like it's not for me, people are like it's not for me. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's barely for me. Like
Mm.
so I understand if it's not for you. That's cool.
So this is going to sound almost stupid, but what makes it so hard? Is it the length of the time? Is it the intensity? What do you feel is really what makes it stand out from other environments?
I'd say it's intensity over time. So like if you said right, me and you will do 5 minutes, balls to the wall. It's hard, and you know how that feels. When you go really hard and you just gas tank completely gone.
Hmm.
5 minutes, that's fine. Recover, go home. That'd be easy. But then if you do that over an hour, and then it's like you want to stop, like your body does kind of want to stop, but you push through, and it's nice. I think a lot of this trickles down from the top. So like I won't stop, and I'll be shouting at everybody to get a new partner and go. I mean, I'm begging for it to stop myself, but if I don't stop, nobody else will stop. So like it is that leading by example. There's a bunch of guys in my gym that are as good as me, but like if I'm running the session, they kind of look to you, and I guarantee if I said, lads, if you want to have a round off, have a round off, everybody would, but you don't give them that option, and it just becomes it's almost like peer pressure. Everybody's back in. Everybody's going again. So it's like, well, I can't rest because I'm going to look a twat in front of these guys. So, and then people, it's a tough environment, but it makes for great competitive lads. Um, as a purely hobbyist gym, probably not for you. Yeah.
No, definitely. I mean, I feel like having that kind of unique perspective on things, if this is the way we're building this is like that mentality of, again, like I said, leading by example. Because like with anything, it's like when the camera's on, you're trying to do something for Instagram, for example. You're not going to do your shit form. You're not going to try a little bit. You're going to give it your best. You're going to try and give that best version out. And almost like, not fake it till you make it, but by portraying that consistently over time, it's like reinforcing those like neural pathways, those habits, they're all these different traits to become that better version of yourself.
Yeah.
And it almost ingrains that kind of, those characteristics almost, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're learning to deal with that environment. You're learning to output that. It's probably the argument with flow rolling that people don't like flow rolling, and it does have a place as a warm up, but you got to be careful what mentality you're breeding into. Oh, it's okay if I give this up. Oh, it's okay if I give that up. There's got to be a little bit of it. Just be careful how much you're doing and how much that is creeping in there, and that you do have to fight for things. Like, I love watching like two people like wrestling. That's funny coming from me as a guard puller. You see two people wrestling, and they're about as good as each other, and you look at it, you think it's whoever's just got the balls to keep this going now. Like whoever's going to really fight for it the most is going to win this exchange, and that's cool as fuck. It's just pure mental.
But that's it, man. It's just that I'm not going to quit,
Yeah.
and neither are you. So we'll just see what happens till the wheels go off. You know what I mean? And again,
Somebody's going to quit.
someone's got to break.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And again, when it comes to things like flow rolling, that's a prime example. Is like saying there's tools, and the tool serves a purpose. You're not going to unscrew something with a hammer. You know what I mean? It's the same
Yeah.
kind of idea. Like you use it for the right thing, like a warm up, for example, for like creativity, mixing things up.
Yeah.
But if you use it for competition mindset, it's a different thing entirely.
100%.
You're
Yeah.
conceding positions, you're allowing people to advance position, all these different things, and it's counterintuitive. But again, I feel like your time in the game and your time on and off the mats and making these mistakes and learning what does and doesn't apply to different environments really helps you appreciate those things.
Yeah.
Because on the surface, to say a white belt or someone that's less experienced in general, more jiu-jitsu is beneficial just as a blanket statement. And it is and it's not. Because again, you reinforce bad habits, you become I don't know.
Yeah, there's a fine line when you start that sparring's always good. Obviously, the second you start, you should start sparring, start feeling. It's very hard to imagine what you're trying to achieve if you don't spar. But there's also a thing of the more you spar without knowing, the more you get used to doing a movement that probably isn't right. So there is like, as you first start off, more technique and more drilling is way more appropriate. Like to learn how you're supposed to be moving your body, what you should be doing, and then doing bits and bobs of sparring to try and get into it. But then as you progress, especially through like the coloured belts, that definitely changes where you should be doing like way more sparring and figuring out how to do this stuff. Most blue belts understand a lot. If you sat a blue belt down, well, a proper blue belt down, and said, teach me so many guard passes, so many submissions, they'll show you loads. They'll show you loads of stuff. Might be slightly off, but they'll show you loads. But then putting it into sparring is where they're struggling. That's where their ability is. So that's where it starts to change then. Like they understand a lot. They know how to do a lot of stuff. They just don't know how to do it against somebody trying to stop them. So that's where it should start, as you get through the coloured belts. Way more sparring, learning how to do it under like a stressful environment.
And this is something I've spoken about before where it's like clean jiu-jitsu isn't necessarily pure jiu-jitsu. It's just like the whole thing of this is the technique in the way I'm teaching it. Every stage of it is crisp and it's all X, Y, and Z. Like you said, with the blue belt, knowing all these different techniques. But under that resistance and that pressure, the resistance molds it and you have to react in a more true way. You see what I'm saying? So instead of it being, this is the typical Toriando, for example, they start throwing these lassos over, they start like shrimping out a little bit. It's like, what are you ruining it for? It's my Toriando, man. You can't. What are you doing?
Yeah. That's exactly right. It's like when you teach a technique in a class, like this is how you should do it. You should have this grip. You should have that grip. Then you do it in sparring. They go, "Oh, you didn't have that. You had this." I was like, "Yeah, it's because you're trying to stop me, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted it, but you wouldn't give it me, so I did it anyway." And there's like, there's a thing where you teach techniques like 100% perfect. Write this down on paper. There's no way they could stop it. But the reality is, if you've got 10 points that you've got to work your way through, you're always going to kind of skip one. You're going to have to make your way around the other. You're going to have to change this one to be like that. So you're teaching a technique to be done like this, but then you've got to mold it to the situation or even the body. You know what I mean? People have got longer arms. I teach stuff all the time, and I'm a taller guy with longer legs, and then you have to go around and adjust it for the lads, for the short kings.
I know
Go and adjust it for them boys. And vice versa. Your opponent could have massive long legs, could have short legs. It's gonna have to be different. And this is where like people should learn to be as versatile as possible and understand what you're trying to achieve. And if it's different, you got to problem solve it, make it work. That's that situation.
Oh, definitely. And again, having that conceptual understanding of the technique and the principles that make it work, being able to apply that under the added pressure as it's going along, think is where the real art of it is.
Yeah.
Again, it's like anything. Say like again, someone's short and stockier, you wouldn't try an arm bar as such because you can't get the arm across because it's sort of rigid. And it's like, okay, maybe try and take the back, maybe try and get them on their back, maybe different kind of strategies. And again, like we're saying there, like any technique, stage by stage, we're going to do it this way, that way. Like typical closed guard arm bar, cross grip on the elbow, bring it across, the arms really back out, and back to square one.
Yeah.
It's like, in theory, the old man jiu-jitsu should be timeless. It should work against all these levels, but then these crazy athletes come out. There's I don't know the technical terms. It's basically white belts. People just moving erratically, things like that, and it's just like, okay, why is my clean? Like Roger Grace would be disgusted if he saw me right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's mate, I can't tell you the amount of times I've had a white belt come up to me and say, "How could you taught this? How come it's not working?" And I'll be like, "Let's have a look." And they're doing it kind of right. Well, it looks right. This and the other. How come it's not working? Like, who is you trying it against? They're like, "Oh, that black belt." Well, like, are you that like? Yeah, on paper it's perfect, but like, if somebody's better than you, they're better than you. It just ain't gonna work. They're gonna stop you. That's one of the most frustrating things. Like, you could take a white belt and for 2 years teach them one technique, get it flawlessly perfect. Chuck them with a black belt, it's never gonna work. That's just the way it is. That's the game we play.
No, exactly. But on that sort of topic of making these improvements over time, what have you found over the years of training that's really helped you make like your improvements as such? What's been like either like a learning style or I don't know, just a perspective thing maybe?
Well, we had a funny thing. I've been training for about 13 years now, um, and I was terrible up until the end of purple belt. Like bad, not bad, but I never really won anything. Really struggled. Competed a lot. Never really won much. And it was only when I came away and started figuring stuff out for myself, like when we opened our own gym. Um, we're under like the guidance of Ben Poppleton and Gordo Europe and the wealth of black belts they've got there. Some really good talent. So you've always got people on hand that you can go back and forth with, but the majority of your training is left to your own devices. And then a bit like sink or swim. Like, but if you figure something out for yourself, like, and figure out the way that it works, it sticks way better. Like, I can tell you how to do something, but if you'd figured out how to do it yourself, you almost fall in love with it a little bit, and it works way better. And I'm a strong believer of that. Like, you see a lot of people like into the instructionals and stuff, and it's good. The wealth of knowledge you get from them is great. But the last thing you want to be is this robot that does. Oh, Gordon says to do this for me, and then Gordon says to do that, and Gordon says to do this. It completely kills the art side of it. You should be building this little thing for yourself. So like, it's good to build all this knowledge up, but you've got to build your own little game that suits you, that you really enjoy. Like, you've got to have something that you really like doing, and do it that way. Try not to be like these robots that just do what somebody else has told them to. You know what I mean, so the more I do that, the better I learn. Like, I could drill a technique that I like for hours. If you tell me to drill a technique I don't like, I'll do it twice and be like, "No, bored, move on." So yeah, like, keep it as personal as possible, I think, to help your progression forwards.
I like that a lot, and a lot of that really rings home when it comes to like drilling things you like and doing it in your sort of format. Because again, it's like when I watch instructionals, for example, it's not, oh, Lachlan, Giles, Gordon, whoever it is, says this step, that step, this step, and it's flawless and it's this technique. I see it as, oh, I can get an entry from this position, or this is a detail I missed out on this. And it's just adding sort of points and like steering up, keeping me in the lane, but still going in the same direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to go on their complete journey themselves, it's just trying to keep it more
Yeah, it's
structured as
nice.
such.
You could definitely fast track yourself with instructionals, without a doubt. But I can't tell you the amount of times I find something, I'll discover something, and I'm like, "Oh, this is wicked," doing it over and over again. search a couple of keywords in YouTube, and there's a list of people doing it.
Mm.
But like because I stumbled across it myself, it like really rings home with me, and I really enjoy it. If I'd watched the YouTube video on how to do it, I probably wouldn't appreciate it. Probably wouldn't have like started like wouldn't have added it into my game. So it's like to genuinely create a jiu-jitsu move right now would be like virtually impossible.
Mm.
Like it's all been done. The majority of all new moves are like just a variation of something that used to be done. They take inspiration from judo or something and then put a little twist on it, and now it's a new move, but they're not actual new moves. Like I feel like we're almost at a point where they just don't exist. Everything's just variations of something. So, but that being said, if you stumble across something yourself, I think that's when like something really rings home and you really fall in love with it, just because nobody told you to do it. It's like my body found that, and now, yeah, like that happens all the time with me. If I find something, I know it's been done before, but I'll find it for the first time myself. It's yeah, I fall in love with it, and that instantly like becomes one of my moves.
And this is the whole point, isn't it? Like trial and error, you have your rounds, you find yourself in the same kind of positions. And this is where I feel like getting feedback from like your coaches, this is the real time for it, is I keep ending up here. What could I do from here? And you start to just build this shape of, say we have a one-to-one, where do we start? And the question isn't like, okay, here's an arbitrary technique from this arbitrary position. It's I'm having this issue trying to do this. Where am I going wrong?
Yeah,
Or I want to develop this area because I want to get there more often, have success from there, and like game building and game establishing. Because this is something I really made a lot of like effort into, especially in my competitions. And where I started seeing progression was making more of a not a set in stone game plan, but more like a pathway of A then B. They do that, then I've got C, and that kind of these stages of things.
yeah, yeah. I've tried to come away from the game plan myself. Um, because sometimes you can get too one track mind about how it's going to go, how you want it to go, and then it doesn't go that way, and nothing bad's happened, but you feel like something's going wrong or something, and it can mess with you a little bit mentally.
Mm.
Um, so there's good sides and bad sides. I feel like it was negative for me. I know a lot of people have, you know, they like it, they focus on it. Um, but I think you get to the point, the more you train, the more you realise I know how to grapple. As much as my brain tries to convince me otherwise before my match, you think,
Mm.
oh, I don't even know how to do this anymore. You know how to grapple, so you're going to start more often than not. You're going to have a starting position. You're going to have, I want to do this at the start, and then just let your body take over. Just go with it. Don't try and force anything. Just take everything that comes naturally. Like that suits me way better because you know how to grapple. You do it every night of the week. It's not like you know, oh, if this happens, what am I going to do? You're going to do something. Your body knows how to react.
Mm.
It's just I like to more just try and trust my processes rather than try and force a situation or like an environment. Let's say.
No, but it makes a lot of
Makes
sense.
sense.
And where like I've tried to refine it as such wasn't so much we get into the role and we're at multiple different positions and there's always variance. This whole I'm not sure if you've seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia before with Charlie, where
Yeah.
he's got like all the paper everywhere, all these wires across, like smoking a cigarette. He's like, this happened because this happened, this happened, this happened. All this whole like inherent like manic plan. No, it's more just more like an opening strategy. And then, okay, we start. This is my first option. This is going to start the ball rolling essentially.
Yeah.
That was been my sort of mindset because what I used to struggle was like hesitancy. Was off the
Yeah.
bat, it'd be like, I'm grip fighting, I'm kind of just watching jiu-jitsu whilst I'm doing it. I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening next. Whereas
Yeah.
instead of it, it was just gung ho, 100%. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. That's always it's always been my mentality is to um I get myself super fired up right before. And I know people like to be relaxed and stuff. I don't. I
Mm.
literally get myself as fired up as physically possible, and then just go out and attack. And don't stop attacking until it's over. That's kind of my mentality, and it's way easier to deal with nerves that way. It's
Mm.
like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get really fired up, and then I'm just going to send the kitchen sink at them. And if something sticks, great. If it doesn't, whatever. You know, like you will always know that you tried your best. Like, and there's no like, what should I do? Send it. Just keep sending it, and just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's way easier to deal with the what ifs in that case. I mean, that might be terrible advice. There'll be a lot of people like probably listening saying that's terrible advice, but like this is why I love the sub only shows because that is your job is to submit them. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I only go for submissions." And it's like you don't. If you pace yourself, you're not.
Mm.
Like, you're not going for a submission if you come out and pace yourself. That's not what you're doing. Um, that's why I come out and go for it from the offset, because I'm just looking for a submission. I'm not
Mm.
looking to pass your guard. I'm not looking to do this, that, and the other. Obviously, you end up doing these things in order to get to the submission, but like the only thing I'm trying to do is submit you.
Mm.
And it makes for fast, exciting matches. And that is your job, especially on these shows. You know, you've got people um, forking out a lot of money to put these shows on, and if somebody like trusts you, um, you know, they're trusting you to put a match on, to sell tickets, or at least for the people who bought a ticket, they've got something to watch, and it pays back. Like, I know this is Chris Thompson's ethos with Grapple Fest.
Mm.
He's like, I don't care if you lose, just be exciting. Like, you're going to come back on if you lose, but you're exciting. But if you're winning, you're boring. You're not coming back.
Mm.
That's probably testament to the fact that I've been on the last 5 Grapple Fests in a row.
That's incredible,
It
isn't
keeps
it?
getting me back.
It's those incredible performances, really, isn't it? And that effort and that willingness to put yourself out there, to risk getting caught, to catch, and all the rest of it. You're making that, I don't know, that vulnerability to be exciting, to be everything. You know, you're not
Yeah,
playing it safe. And like those kind of shows, I really respect people like Chris Thompson and people who put these platforms on, take the risk, and put these like ventures out. Because how cool is it to be on a sub only show, to be in front of these like people who actually care about the sport and actually like celebrate and, you know, care about what you
yeah,
care about. You know, they're really invested in it. They provide that platform for people.
yeah. Chris is one of them. He's got, you know, the show is incredible, and it's a proper milestone for anybody that gets there. Anybody that's been on Grapple Fest will be like, you know, and they'll remember the first time they was on. It's like it's a big thing for you. But it's not like the matches he has on there are incredible. But he's also got like, he gives everybody a chance. Man, you see, like, everybody kind of gets a chance except for you. Sorry, mate. Chris Thompson, give him a call. But he gives everybody a shot, you know what I mean? And it's like my first proper super fight was on Grapple Fest. But he's willing to give everybody a shot, see what you're made of, have a crack. And that's even better, because there's so many people out there that have had the opportunity to taste that like big show environment. And the atmosphere in there is like, it's like nothing else. It's like nothing else, man. It's the second that first fight kicks off, it's just a party. It's like, love it, man. Love that show. Without doubt, my favourite show to compete on.
Oh, this is where we have to tread carefully. We start talking about party and jitsu and names involved and who's doing, you know, what happens off the mats is their business. We keep things respectful.
Well, a lot happens off the mats, that's all I'm going to say. Especially when Grapple Fest is literally right in the centre of Liverpool, city centre, and it just gets wild afterwards as well. And it's, and you couldn't ask for more as well. You couldn't ask for more to do a show like that. Have that environment while you compete, and then to walk out the front door and you're in the city centre, like, that's the dream. That's the
That's
dream.
what you want, really, isn't
That
it?
is the dream.
And this is the whole point of having these after parties and having these experiences and things like that. And do you know what kills me is just like Craig Jones is an example of someone who, which Polaris was it? It was when he fought Gerard.
Gerard Mershot.
Yeah, and did the nose beers thing.
Mate, I swear he was wired when he walked on the mats. He was. If for anybody that dabbles themselves can look at him in the eyes and go, I know that feeling. I know how that feels.
What got me, and again, I'm going to tread lightly because my mum and dad watch this podcast, is getting away with it and being successful in the sense of like you used to always see it disciplined, rocky,
Yeah,
that kind of I'm just chicken, rice, veg, up at 5, doing ice baths, all this good stuff, militant.
yeah,
Craig Jones, like rock up, sub everyone,
yeah.
ketamine in the toilet, everything else. And he's just, allegedly, I don't know it for a fact. He just said it as a thing Polaris. That's what I'm quoting off of. But the point being, you know, it's like, they're not the,
It's I think more importantly is having the balls to admit to it. So I think there is so much of that going on, and even on the UK scene, and like, I'm here for it, man. Like, I'm here for it. Especially if you do 6 weeks tough training for a match, you know, diet's been good, training's been hard. There's nothing better than afterwards just going out and partying. I was saying to you before, like, win or lose, that adrenaline kind of hits you. And there's been a few times where you compete and you got to go home straight afterwards, And I always just lie in bed all night. I watch it, rewatch the match on repeat for hours. Can't sleep. Still a bit buzzed. So it's like you might as well have just been out partying, I suppose,
Mm.
really, ain't you? Having a good time.
Well, this is it. Like, regardless of result, just celebrate the fact you had the opportunity to do something like that.
Yeah,
And this is something I've speak to people about in general. Is like it's a mad thing competing. Like being an
yeah,
experience where someone's actually 100% trying to hurt you
yeah,
in front of people, and you paid for that, or you like signed up for it. In front, all this whole situation, it's like I'm competing in something. What the fuck? And there's
yeah,
the world of like the safe lives of go to work, watch the footballs, just don't do anything. There's the mundanity to then go, oh, this Saturday I've signed up. This man's gonna rip my knees off. All right,
yeah,
that's what we're doing this weekend.
yeah.
Do you want to buy a ticket?
Do you want to buy a ticket? Could go really bad. Do you want to come watch?
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That's it. It's it's the buzz, isn't it? Wouldn't have it any other way, would you? Like that buzz, that yeah, the adrenaline dump, the afterwards. It's class. It's mental how fast it's over, isn't it? You build it up to be this huge thing, and then all of a sudden it's gone. You go, ah, it's gone. You walk out the venue, it's like, and nobody cares.
Mm.
Like nobody can even remember. Not, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's worth it just for that moment. It's yeah, it's unreal.
What's some of your favorite competition memories?
Favorite competition memories. Um, favorite competition memory. You know, I beat Adam Ellis Grapplefest 15. Um, I think that one for me was the like because I rate Adam Ellis really high. I mean, for obvious reasons. Um, and he's a real nice bloke and everything. But for me, that was the one was like, oh shit, like, yeah, maybe I can make a run of this. I think that was the one that convinced me.
Mm.
As much as yeah, it was one of those like before it, you kind of thinking, well, this is the test. And then I subbed him 30 seconds, I think it was. Um, and that was a cool feeling afterwards. I was like, oh man, I can actually do this against like the high level black belts in this country. Like
Mm.
the realization of that's cool as hell. So that's probably one of my favourites. Yeah,
Ah, that's good, man. And this is the thing. It's like it's a milestone, isn't it?
it
Like
is.
it's that real turning point of. So that most people watching it's like, oh, it's a fast finish. Oh, this guy must be really good. To you, it's like, who's this guy? It's like,
Yeah,
where'd that come from? It's like I put this work in, I put this time in, I put everything into it. Oh, I did this because I earned this, and it's that kind of
yeah.
self-reflection of just like, oh shit, it's coming
S-
together now.
These fast finishes, man, they're becoming like a thing now. Um, so I did the stats. I think I've had 15 matches. I've had 15 matches. I've lost three, drawn one, won 11. Out of the 11, I've won 8 under 60 seconds. Out of that 8, I've won 5 under 30 seconds. So it's becoming like,
That's
and it's
filthy.
as much as I always do my cardio. I'm always ready for like a long haul. But the more it happens, the more I'm like, I can get this guy gone in 60 seconds. I know I can. I know I can get him gone. And that's like a nice little confidence thing to happen. Um,
Don't get paid overtime.
don't get paid overtime. That's the thing in it. But it goes back to that mentality that I'm sending the kitchen sink. Like I'm actually trying to submit you. Like I'm not messing about. I'm not trying to do this. I'm not trying to do that. I'm going to start. And it's one of the reasons that I can wrestle and I don't mind wrestling with people. But for me, to wrestle, you got to take somebody down. You might have to pass their guard afterwards. You got to set something up. If I sit to guard, I can go for submissions. If I wrestle, I mean there are some exceptions, but there's not many.
Mm.
Where you've got to go through a whole lot of process to get there. So I would rather start in a position where I can attack submissions from the start and get my mentality going. If I end up on top, I'll carry on attacking submissions. But if
Mm.
you start wrestling, you're trying to achieve a takedown. I don't really like that mentality. I'd rather be trying to achieve a submission from the offset. So that's more why um, I like to pull guard, like just mentality wise. I don't mind. I think my top game's all right. I
Mm.
think I can wrestle. It's not my strong suit. I can wrestle. I can play top, but for me, it's just way more fast tracked if I sit to guard.
Makes a lot of sense though, and I find like wrestling, if you're more of an MMA style and things like that, when it comes to controlling someone and finishing them that way, and like say ground and pound or whatever it might be, wrestling, top game, that kind of the gravity as such, just really implying you're like that weight sort of weight placement. Whereas with guard, it's just much more aggressive. Without the risk of strikes and things like that, you can be a lot more versatile with your position. You can get way more out of it. Like you said, there just subs from the off,
Yeah.
like leg entanglements and all sorts of different positions, and it's just you're just there from the off. That's the whole point. Instead of having to, like you said, they go through the whole saga of the process.
Yeah.
And sorry, Karen.
Well, if you think about positions in a whole, um, guard is the one position you can like attack the most. Really, if you think about like chokes, arms, legs, you know what I mean. You're attacking a lot of stuff. You go to mount, some chokes, no gi, virtually nothing. It's going to be mainly arms. You know, on the back, he's looking chokes. Um, like all the others are quite like one dimensional in what you can attack. You get to guard, you can attack the whole body in one go. So for me, it's like it's the most offensive position. No, it's still down to the player. Any position can be a stalling position, given to the wrong person. But if it's down to somebody who wants to submit, like the amount of stuff you can do from guard is incredible. It's just it can be counteracted by somebody who doesn't want to engage with you. And there's being cautious, but there's some people literally do nothing to stifle that threat. That's one of the main issues you'll have as a guard player. But you know, if somebody wants to pass your guard, you've got the opportunity to attack all kinds.
It always boils down to, isn't it? If you're not all in, you're stalling, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
You're just kind of like hesitant. You're just like, I'm just going to bury my
Yeah.
head down or just camp out a little bit, frustrate them, wait for them to open their guard and this kind of thing. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're just too scared to engage, kind of thing, most of the time.
It's understandable, like IBJJF Worlds, even ADCC, and all this. You know, these things make sense. It does make sense to be more cautious, to pace yourself, make sure you got, you know, can do the whole match. It's the sub only. To do that in sub only seems crazy to me. I know there's some titles and stuff. There's a nice thing about Grapple Fest. Like, am I ever going to get a shot at the world title? No. I mean, maybe if I'd beat Paul Lukowski, but you know, that's a different issue. Fat boy lay on me. But you know, that's almost a bit nicer because I can be like, you got nothing to lose. So what are you protecting? Well, you're going to go out there and stall to protect what? Like, there's no world title on the end of the line. All there is a shit match if you just sit there and do nothing. Like, well done.
Again,
Win or lose, terrible.
It's one of those things, isn't it? More is lost in indecision than wrong decision. And again, if you're like on the way home afterwards, you're like, yeah, I didn't get subbed. All right.
Yeah.
You didn't get subbed before you got there. What's your
Nobody
point?
cares. Yeah. Nobody cares.
You know, it's one of them. It's just like you didn't go for it.
Yeah.
Like the matches I've lost where I've really gone for it and I was like back and forth and they caught me in the end. It's like, I'll sleep well. I'll crack on. I feel all right. The ones where it's like nothing really happened and I might have got the edge on the decision, it's like,
yeah,
there's a bit of patience enough.
Like my first proper super fight, it was against Jack Grant at Grapple Fest. I had a pull out. I was a brown belt at the time, quite new to like getting back to competition after COVID. I'd barely done much. Chris gave me the opportunity, as I said. My opponent pulls out, and it might have been a week before. He's like, I'll find you someone. And he says, Jack Grant said he'll do it. And I could tell by the way he's messaging me, he was like, it'd be cool if Jack Grant gets on the card, but like, you got a death wish if you accept it. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, I've never ever turned anybody down, and I don't think you should. I think if the promoter wants you to compete against that person, that's the person you compete against, or don't do the show. So I took it. Knew it was going to be an uphill battle, and he caught me about 2 minutes in. But for the first 2 minutes, I was getting in on his legs. I was like entering his legs and stuff. And again, it's like just the fact that I was like, oh, I was getting there with him then. Like that's a lot. That's like a big confidence. Like he counter leg blocked me for one of my entries. But to take a name like Jack Grant and feel like, oh, I was getting somewhere with him briefly, like that, you can build a lot off that. And like he's a top bloke. He is real top bloke. And he was saying similar to me. He's like, I can't believe you accepted the match. But like, yeah, like he's doing well.
So you get further, there to be great, you know, and just think, oh, do you know what? Why not?
Yeah.
What
not?
if?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
What
It's
if?
like, you know, what if
what have you got to lose? Like in that situation, I'm like, it's braver for Jack to take it and risk losing to me. Although he'd be favourite, like there's a risk that he could lose to me.
Hmm.
Whereas me losing to Jack, I'm like, yeah, whatever, cool. Jack's cool. He's fucking good, man. Really good.
He's been solid for a long time, man. Like
Really good.
Bama days, like
Yeah.
everything else. He's always been like active in what he's doing. Like I don't see much of him on social media just because of the algorithm and things like that. But I'm sure he's still doing exceptionally well with
Yeah, he's still
grappling too.
about. He's still doing good grappling matches as well. He's back in the MMA now, but as solid as they come in. Yeah.
He's in the PFL now.
He recently had a match, but I can't remember what promotion it was on. He won a match, and it was almost embarrassing. We'll have to have a look after. It wasn't about, it was embarrassing the way he won. Oh, it was the other day.
Yeah, I
Was it
saw.
Cage? It wasn't Cage Warriors, was it?
No, he
The
suplexed
PFL?
his
Might have been
opponent,
PFL.
then like ground and pounded him. I think it was quite a nice finish.
Can't remember what it was. Is it a big takedown or something? He hit something ridiculous. Yeah, what an athlete that guy is.
Mate, specimen.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the thing. It's just like taking those matches, being in like sharing the mats with people with now equal kind of calibers. People like the peers now. It's not like, oh, I'd never face them and everything like that. No, you just part of the journey now. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm against these people and these people, and you're like, wait a minute, why am I not holding myself up to this version I'm putting these people on this like
Yeah.
I don't know, Mount Olympus of grapplers? It's just like, no, you just
Yeah.
everyone's human, man. You start to realize that when you start, I'm committing, I'm going for them, and I'm getting results, I'm getting these wins and all these
Yeah.
different challenges,
It's tough. I've had a few of them where, because I'm a massive fan of UK grappling, more so than anything else. Like, like watching these UK guys compete against each other is way better for me than like watching these world champions. It's just way more intriguing. These are like genuine blokes that are like down the road and stuff. So I've always been like a fan of like watching these UK grappling shows. I've had it a couple of times. I competed against Ash Amos, and it'd be like, build yourself up, get it done straight afterwards. I'd be like, bro, I'm like a fucking big fan. I had the same with Arya. Is it Arya? Arya from Pure Jiu Jitsu. Yeah, competed against him. And the second you come off, you're like, you're putting a brave face on it before. You're like, well, yeah, I'm going to batter him. And the second it's done, I'm like, man, I'm a huge fan,
Can I
man.
get a
Like,
picture,
I've been
please?
watching all your matches, man. Yeah, it's like cool as fuck to even be on the mats with you. Like, mate, that guy, fucking hell. I was in the warm up area with him, and he's the most intimidating bloke on the planet. Like, his persona is horrific. Horrific. Just the way he walks around, carries himself. You look at him, and he looks like he's just about to go and fucking tear somebody's head off. Like, oh, yeah, that's going to be me.
Oh, fantastic. I signed up for this.
Yeah.
I sold
I
tickets for
paid
it.
good money for this. Yeah.
He's more intimidating than Ben Bennett.
Ben Bennett wasn't intimidating. Obviously, I've not competed against him. This is going back to the conversation we had about him at trials, wasn't it? And he's just, man, Ben Bennett's energy. I don't even think, I wouldn't want to compete against it. I'll be like, fuck, yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that. But he's not trying to intimidate his opponents. He's like, he's in his element, like, like a kid at Christmas. But he's like, yeah, no, it's intimidating, but in a different fashion. He ain't scary. You're like, he's like just like a wild dog that's ready to eat. That is intimidating. He's just more excited. He's excitable. He's like, I fucking can't sit still. Yeah, need a bit of that in my life for sure.
Well, here's a question for you. So, say you're competing in your match is on in like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
You're going to get fired up for the match.
Yeah.
2 questions. How far out do you get fired up?
Yeah.
And how do you get fired up?
Good question. So I think I've been dabbling with this, and this is always awkward when you're on shows like Grapple Fest. They just send one after the other, so you don't have a time. You know how many matches. Those matches could all finish in 1 minute. They could all go 10 minutes. So it's very hard to time. But for me, I do like to do a bit of a warm up. I don't like to do too much. The harder I try and warm up, the shitter I feel, the harder it is to convince myself I'm going to win. So I'll do a bit of moving around, stretching, make sure I'm loose, very light sweat on. But as for time, I know I can get mentally fired up in 20 minutes. Like 20 minutes, headphones on, walking around, I can go from 0 to 110 in 20 minutes. And, the later you start it, the better. Because you go too soon. I've had it so many times when I get fired up too soon, ready to go, and then I pace, and I get pacing and pacing for like, it could be like half an hour. And it's just too long. And you almost once I'm fired up, I'm like, I want it to happen. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm good to go. Like there's no nerves anymore. Like
Mm.
I'm like excited to get this thing going. Then if you sit in that mode for like half an hour, it starts to drag on you.
Mm.
So for me now, like 3 hours to go to a competition, I'll be sleeping as much as possible, and I'll sleep really well right before.
Yeah.
I'll sleep right up, do absolutely nothing, and it's easy to relax these days because I know I can get fired up in a short amount of time. I only need half an hour. So anything, absolutely anything before that half an hour is a waste of time. It's a waste of mental space. It's just, yeah, don't even bother with it. So I'll be like sleeping. Uh, like I've been like head down on chairs before, just like because it's what my body wants to do. So you just let it do what it's got to do, and then the second that half an hour timer goes, it's like right, switch it on now.
Mm.
That's different, but I'm getting better and better at it now, and it's just having the balls to leave it later. Just leave it as late as possible. Yeah.
The question I've got now is what's in the headphones?
So it's different every time, right? And there's been some fruity numbers, real fruity numbers. But it's all down to what I feel on the day. But the one thing I can guarantee, it's one song on repeat. It's always one song on repeat. It'll be a song that's, man, it's different. Sometimes it can be metal. More often than not, it's like, um,
Something off of Shane Curtis's
sometimes it'll be
Spotify.
like, yeah, yeah. A lot of the time it's dance. It'll be like a 90s dance tune. The most recent one was Bass Cannon, Flux Pavilion.
Oh, wicked.
Super simple, gets you fired up. I think I heard it on the way up, and I remember being like, "Oh yeah, I forgot how good this is." And then so it's just that on repeat, and that worked brilliantly. Every time it dropped, it'd
Yeah.
be like, "Whoa, I'm ready again." But it changes. Sometimes it'll be really like, yeah, like really fruity stuff. But it's just to do with the vibe, and it's more about. I don't like metal these days. It's too focused. It's got to have rhythm, like a lot of rhythm, because like that's the way you move, getting your body moving. Um, but yeah, more often than not, like 90s dance tunes when there's like a real good one.
Mm.
Um, or yeah, like dubsteppy drum and bassy style, just not too heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
finding that sweet spot really, isn't it? Instead of going like, if I can explode to like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm woken up now. I'm good to
Well,
fuck.
there's that funny thing with entrance music, isn't there?
Mm.
There's always that dickhead that you're like, he comes out to something, it's screaming and shouting, you're like, bro, you're about to grapple, man. Like, what is wrong with you, man? Like, it's too far, like too far. Don't take yourself too serious. So that you can have motivational music, but if it's like, I'm gonna rip your head off, you're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. The rules don't even let you.
I'll tell you what though, I'm gonna say something controversial. Fuck it, why not? You know when people are like, they put like a novelty song on.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like, give it some respect, man. Like I'll give it. Obviously, it's like that's a laugh, we're having some fun. But to me, it's like, man, I've trained hard for this. I want to give it a bit more like.
That,
Obviously, don't take yourself too seriously, but I'm a bit like,
yeah. That is the other side of it, innit? It's like taking it too serious or not serious enough. But you know what? Jiu-jitsu's boring. If you can add a bit of character and flavour to it, then please do, man.
that's
Because
a good idea.
your match is going to be boring. Everybody's match is boring.
Mate, you're not wrong, and this is the other side of it, isn't it? It's like it's not just about you; it's about what you do. It's about what happens and what you're selling and the whole product.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I just mean more from a sort of competitive point of view of like,
Yeah, shit. You stood on the mats and somebody comes out to something ridiculous.
you're just like, yeah, it's a laugh.
It's not a bad power move, I suppose.
That's it. Just
Like,
that's,
I'm not taking you serious at all.
and that's it. I lost all respect for you before we started. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of them, man. And like in the back room and before you get started, like I've tried a mix of different things. But what's hilarious is like if you ever see me in a competition, like a fight show, or whatever, my warm up is me fucking blagging it because every time is like, this looks like stretching, this looks like jiu-jitsu. Because I hate warm ups in general. Pure purple
Yeah.
belt, man. It's like
Yeah.
just get me on the mat as soon as possible before I just ADHD out and switch off. Right now, I just want to just get relatively warm, get pretty hyped up, so I don't hesitate, and then just bang.
Yeah.
Instead of just running around, side steps, all the rest of it. A couple of shrimps. It's like,
Yeah. I can't tell you, over the years as well, it's not so easy to do these days, obviously, but like over the years, the amount of time, like, I'll never drill like my good stuff on the warm up mats because you don't know who's watching you, but then I'll always drill wrestling. and then pull guard. And the amount of people, man, I've had people panic pull guard on me because I convinced them I was like some high level judo guy. And they've got, I know I wanted to pull guard and it's backfired because they've run out of pull guard. I've been like, fuck. And then afterwards, they're like, that's pull guard because I thought you was, I was like, no, I don't even know one takedown. Fucking,
Oh, that's it, man.
yeah.
Here's a question for you. I don't know if you have to answer it, but fuck, I'll ask it anyway. What's some of the wildest stuff you've seen backstage before fight shows?
Wildest stuff I've seen.
Like just the most unorthodox stuff, like the weirdest warm ups, or just
Yeah, you've seen a lot, mate. That Helena, what's her name?
Helena.
Yeah, Helena. I watched her warm up, and she did star jumps for about hour. Mate, I shit you not, barely took a break. Started doing star jumps, and then I was like 5 minutes in, I was like, fucking hell, yeah, she's still going. I shit you not, man. It must have almost been an hour, man. She just did star jumps on top of star jumps on top of star jumps. It was just like, I mean, that blew my mind. I've seen people literally try and kill themselves. Like two people who are competing, not together, but like competing on a show, just going 110% backstage. Seems ridiculous. Man, I watched Owen Livesey warm up the once, and that was genuinely terrifying. He was like, again, it's like a persona thing. Man, that guy's such a competitor. He's got such a persona about him, but then like the way he moves, and you can almost start to see like even his sprawl, he'd be like sprawling and shooting. You can see there's like an intent growing there, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, you do see some mad shit. I've been warming up with one of my teammates before, and Theon Davies was sat just down the mats by us, and the whole time I was trying to warm up, he was just staring at her. I was like, bro, just switch on for 5 minutes, mate. I just need you to help warm me up for 5 minutes. And he's there drooling. Oh, come on, man. Yeah, I haven't seen anything that wild, I don't think.
Nothing you can send the podcast anyway. That's fine.
Oh, I've seen some stuff I definitely can't say on the podcast. But that's a story for a different day.
That's going on the Patreon.
Yeah.
But here you go. Before we wrap up, there's a question I asked like throughout the time doing the podcast to my guests, and it's what advice would you give to your white belt self? So day one, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
I don't know. Knowing me, I wouldn't take it anyway. I don't take advice off nobody. One of the big things is like, I'm not somebody who like goal sets at all. In fact, I'm quite against goal setting. I don't like having a finish line. I just like start grafting and good stuff happens. Like don't stop grafting. But there's like certain things like, oh, I want to get sponsored by so and so, or I want to get on so and so show. These kind of things like they shouldn't be your goal. They shouldn't be your goal because there's a little bit of politics that gets involved in a lot of this stuff. And if you don't know this person or you don't live in this area, like that can like hinder you achieving those goals. So you can get as good as you want. If it's not the right circumstance, you'll never achieve that. So that's like the wrong thing to strive for. And that's that would be genuine advice to most people is like just be careful what you like. It's nice if that stuff happens. Shout out to Hard Life. Like, they've taken me on board and treat me really, really well. But like, it takes a while until like somebody's interested in sponsoring you. And you could say, I want to be sponsored by so and so. But the fact is, if you're not in the right circle, it'll never happen. So just be careful. Just be careful what your aims are. Is probably what I would have said. Start eating. That's what I would have said. I was like 74 kilograms when I first started training. Like 108 this morning. But that was always kind of the goal, I think, deep down inside. Because I always thought, besides being in the gym, you think if you want to double goal the competition, heavy is always going to be better. Technique's good, but weight's a good thing. So that's been like an ongoing battle the whole time. Just get heavier, bigger, heavier, heavier. Could have been done faster. That's what I'm saying. Start eating, fat boy. That's what I'd say.
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Is anyone you want to shout out to? Where can people find you? Where can people find your gym?
Shout out Hard Life Fightwear, man. They're killing it. They've just had a bit of a rebrand, Hard Life 2.0. They're doing some good work, man, and looking after their people. So it's a big respect to them. Strom Sports Nutrition. They're trying to they're just entering the game a bit now. Sponsoring a few lads. Brilliant at what they do as well. Him and I've got Plan A Strength and Conditioning. I've started working with him, and between the two of them, the improvements I've made over the past 9 months, just having somebody take care of all my strength conditioning and everything, and then somebody else like looking after all my supplements and like backing you with all that stuff. The improvements I've made have been tenfold. You know, if it happened a couple of years ago, God knows where I'd be right now. So yeah, shout out to them boys. Obviously, Black Country Jiu Jitsu. If you're ever in the area, down just outside of Birmingham, Stourbridge area, man, you're more than welcome to come down. Always say visitors train free because we just want as many visitors on the mats as possible. It's always a good thing. But yeah, that's about it.
Fantastic. Also, keep an eye on Fisticuffs podcast. We've got some big plans coming. Well, thank you for your time, my friend.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.